Hello and welcome to Our House, a Lomond podcast. This is episode 2, Beyond the Sold Sign. My name is Matthew. I'll be running the show today, and today I am delighted to be joined by 4 esteemed guests. Number 1, we've got Craig Robertson, Director of Lomond.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. How are you doing today, Craig?
I'm great. I'm glad to be here again.
Excellent,
Always
excellent.
good to see your gorgeous little face.
On my right, we've got Joe One Take, Eco-Director of Lomond. How are you?
I am also good, and I am equally delighted to be here for one reason and one reason only.
What's that?
Craig has finally bought me a coffee.
Well done, well done. Is that the first time in how many years?
3.5
That's
years.
so offensive. I've bought way more than a coffee. It might be the first coffee I've bought, but I've bought a lot more than that.
Wait, what? Name one other thing.
Lunches, dinners, you name it. Cinema. We went to cinema to see that movie, remember?
I don't feel like that should be discussed.
The same day. I'm slightly concerned.
I can't look out.
Don't read it, Joe.
Okay, we also have, I'm really happy to say that we've got a bit more of a diverse panel today. She is a friend of mine from Irvine. It's Fiona Reid. Fiona, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, although that was a terrible intro. Terrible.
Friend of mine from Irvine.
Well, can you not do that?
There's not a lot of words that rhyme with Irvine. Ask ChatGPT to help me out, and there was very little.
That's a shame.
And she makes... Oh, I've done it again! Here we go.
You're a terrible host.
This is the best
Here it comes.
behind the scenes ever.
And last but not least, she brightens my day, even when it's rainy. The one and only, Elle Cheney. Elle, how are you doing today?
Well, that was a lie for a start. Great, Matthew. Thanks for having me.
Good. Listen, thank you all for being here. Obviously, we've seen these two guys on the last episode, so we know what Craig and Joe are all about. But it's your first time, so if you can give us a little introduction as to who you are, what your background is with Lomond, how long you've worked here, and what your role is within the company just now. So Fiona, why don't you start us off?
My name is Fiona. I work in the Irvine office. I have been with Lomond, I think, close to 12 years now. I want to say I'm not the oldest member of the team, but the most long-standing. I think the oldest is Gillian. It's not me.
Oh, she's not even here to
I
defend
thought she was going to say the wisest there. Obviously, I thought I didn't need to say the wisest. That goes without saying. And I am one of the sales negotiators in the Irvine office.
Is that all you do, though?
Yeah, we're the ones that do We're the ones that do all the hard work.
Nonsense. You're an estate agent.
I would
agree.
agree.
You do everything, Fiona.
Absolutely.
You do everything. Do you do viewings?
Yeah.
And voices.
Yeah.
And voices.
No, don't
you do voices?
Were you wanting to do your job there,
Does her
Matthew?
own voice really well.
No, I don't do voices.
Good.
All-round estate agent of the year.
I hear voices sometimes.
That's just the job.
Clients' voices sometimes.
And Elle, obviously, you're at the other ends of the scale in terms of your time spent with Lomond and your age. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your journey
Thanks
with
for
Lomond?
that, Matthew. So my name's Elle. I'm based here in the Kilmarnock branch as one of our estate agents, and I started with the business in September.
And how's that been going for you?
It's been absolutely fantastic. I love it. Day in, day out, working with all of my favourite staff members.
Me.
I had to buy her a coffee to get her to say that.
Yeah, that's worth it. Excellent. So obviously, just now at this point, 2026, we've just finished Q1. From my perspective, based on how busy I've been and how busy I know all of you four have been, it seems like it's been a really productive, very, very active first quarter. So if I can throw a couple of quick fire things to you, Craig, why don't you try and summarise what's quarter one has been like in 3 words only?
3 words only. Busy, for sure. Well, that's 3 words.
Boring.
Busy. Exciting. I've had some really good sales. And busy, exciting.
Come on, Craig, you wrote the questions.
Just mesmerised the script.
And I would say
Chaotic.
chaotic, yeah. Yeah, I would say chaotic. I was going to say it has been interesting. Interesting.
Has it felt chaotic to you, Elle?
Yes.
Yeah.
And branch.
Yeah, how so?
With the amount of listings we've had and the sales that we've had, the viewings in particular, properties that are getting 20 to 30, if not more, viewings at the properties. Our viewing agents will agree with that as well, and I'm sure you'll agree with that, Fiona.
Yep.
And is that a good thing for there to be so many viewings from your guys' perspective? Obviously, it keeps you busy, more work. But is it at what point is there such a thing as too many?
I don't think so. Because you're always getting more opportunities. The more people that contact you, whether it be they've got a house to sell or, they need help with the buying process, that we can help them with that. So there comes a point maybe where you've got to sort of put it to bed, for want of a better word, because you could, as much as you've got more interest coming in, you could lose the interest that you've already got, because it is still fast-paced, things are moving quickly. So whilst it's great to wait and see if you could get like 60 viewers, there's only one person can buy it, and the likelihood is that they've came through your door early on. So you don't want them to go and find something else as it comes on the market.
I think that's a really
it
good
can
point.
also be driven by the vendor themselves. We had a scenario at the Prestwick office where young couple, very young family, quite limited as to when they could take viewers, got to, I think it was 35, and just said, that's enough.
Yeah.
I just don't want any more.
What is it? As in they had 35 people come into their house?
Yeah.
Viewers,
Wow.
booked, etc.
Closing the
Probably could have
doors.
given them another 15 to 20. It was
That's a lot.
It was a unique situation, but they just said, look, that's enough. We don't want
Was
any more
that
viewers.
was that the one you walked to?
Yeah.
I think there's also a really important point that Fiona's touching on is momentum. And see, if you have 35 viewings, there's only so many you can do in a day. So if the seller's doing their own viewings, we had one client that over a weekend was literally 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 1, blah, right through to 6 o'clock at night on Saturday. Then on Sunday, 10, 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12. So it gets to a point where the person that was out 3 or 4 days ago wants to offer. If we've got days and days worth of viewings, are they going to hang around for any longer than another few days, or are they going to see something else? So you want to capitalise on that momentum. But while all that's happening, you've got more listings coming through, and then you've got the same viewers going out again, and that's where that chaos comes from. But what I think we're really good at is the team here are so organised at managing all of that and making sure that not one single lead or one single viewing request is missed. We accommodate so many people with all sorts of strange requests for viewing times. So, and obviously we've got 3 viewing agents, which also helps. So if we're helping out, we don't miss a viewing either. But that I think what Elle's saying there is right. It's been so chaotic because it's been so busy, but it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, it's great chaos.
It's great chaos.
You said there that you've obviously got 3 kind of dedicated viewing agents, but I'm right in thinking that it's been so busy that everyone's kind of had to muck in a little bit and go and do viewings as and when needed. Like that's how busy we've been this first quarter, isn't it?
We'll do anything for our clients if we can. We've got the evenings, weekends, the 3 viewing agents, the office staff. We all do it and we all take our turn.
Yeah, we'll never miss a viewing. Never.
Is it quite fun doing a viewing? I quite fancy doing a viewing.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can
We
be
need to
because,
send you out.
again, it just, some people come in, they barely speak to you, they view the house, they go away and they love it, but you think they hate it. And then you've got the ones that have got like a million questions that some you can answer, some you can't. And then, sometimes you get the odd rude person as well, but that's very few and far between.
I think it's interesting because when we sold our flat, we did our own viewings, and obviously it's an interesting dynamic when you've got strangers coming in, they're asking you certain questions, you're not sure how much to tell them, but then obviously we're feeding back to the estate agents in the office, whereas if you are doing the viewings yourselves, maybe you get a better read off of the client or the potential buyers, and you maybe feel more on top of how the different parts are moving together. So do you have a preference as to whether it's the clients doing their own viewings or whether we look after it?
It has to be a mix of both, because if we were to do every single viewing on every house we sold, we would need probably an army of 40 viewing agents.
40.
I think sometimes as well, certainly from probably more Craig and I's perspective, there'll also be times where we'll visit a house and we might think there might be a reason as to why the vendor doesn't want to do the viewings. You know, there might be a parent's passed away recently and they feel quite emotional about the whole scenario, or vice versa. They want to see who's maybe buying, you know, mum and dad's house, that kind of thing. And you've also got the scenario where some folk just quite simply don't fancy it and they might not be very good at it. You know, they know themselves that they don't think they'll be very good at a viewing. So that's where we're obviously able to step in and say, well, look, we can do it if needs
I
be.
also think, though, that the viewers themselves will speak to us differently than they'll speak to the seller. They'll tell us things that they won't say to the seller. They don't mind offending us by saying, you know, they hate the decor scheme or that they hate the kitchen, but they'll never go into someone's house and say, I really don't like your kitchen, so I'm not interested. So to get that feedback, that's why sometimes sellers will say to us, oh, that viewing went really well, they're the buyer, and we do the feedback and they say, I absolutely hated it. And it's like they've
Got the measuring tape out.
they've been so positive in the house, and then the feedback, but then when we're at the viewing and it's us that are showing it, they'll say right away, not interested, thanks very much. And it's like, well, we always try and overcome that. Well, why are you not interested? It's something that you can change. So as Fiona says, it has to be a bit of both, I think.
I had a vendor once that said I was wrong when I told them that they didn't like their house, because she said, no, they were here for 40 minutes and, you know, they were telling me where they were putting their furniture, and I was like, yeah, apparently your kitchen's too small.
I find that fascinating as well, because that was a piece of advice that you gave me when we were trying to buy our place. Like we went into this house that, you know, luckily we ended up getting, and I just had such a great impression off of the seller. I really felt like me and my wife and our baby, who we took along with us for leverage, not to include in the deal, just to make a good impression.
Lomond's top tips.
But we
Take a child with you.
You can find that on the website.
We left that viewing feeling like, we've got it.
It's in the bag.
It's ours. And then I remember coming in full of beans, and you were both just like, listen, this happens all the time. People get good rapport with the clients, but, you know, just, you don't know until you know.
You
know,
were such a kid at Christmas.
See, at that point, did you go and return that baby that you'd borrowed to the parents? Yeah, that's good. Well done.
But, you know, it is an interesting dynamic, and obviously it's important to try and take everything with a pinch of salt until it's all gone through. We've deviated a wee bit here, but Joe, is there any words you would add on to what this first quarter has been like from your end of things?
Cheesy as it sounds, probably fairly similar to what Craig said, but rewarding as well. You know, we can all have a moan about how busy we can get at times, you know, but it's a good moan. You know, we've all been there. But sometimes when you take a step back and you look at some of the sales that you've had, you think, that was a great buzz we got off that, you know, and I'm sure the girls will admit, you know, phoning a client and telling them about the price they've just got for their property, that's a great buzz. You know, that will never leave you if you're an estate agent. But also, you know, as I say, just helping people on their next journey, you know, whether that's a first time buyer or somebody buying their first house as a family. Like you've just been through, you know, as you were telling me the other day at an appointment, just how just buzzing you are about the whole thing, you know, and it's.
I had a client scream down the phone the other day, just the other day, scream down the phone when they get told.
Word gets chucked at you. No, a good swear word though.
Yeah,
It was one of those moments we have to go,
like, whoa, you know, and it's like, you know, but you're right, that feeling we get.
Yeah.
We get that feeling of, it's almost lump in the throat stuff, where you've really done something really good for the client. It's like, you know, if you're walking down the street and someone falls over and you help them up and you feel good about yourself, that's kind of how you feel when you do a deal like that for a
rewarding
client.
side. And again, that's because you've built the relationship up with the client as well. There's nothing more exciting than having that call. And whether that's, again, like you say, first time buyer or new family home, but on your aspect, you know that from the vendor's point of view as well, from selling yours, you did do your own viewing, so you built up that momentum with the viewers themselves. And then you probably had that as well when Fiona's saying the shock of, oh, wait, they're not my buyers, it's actually someone else, because you've built that relationship and kind of created that attachment to them as well. So it's all swings and roundabouts.
Normally those people though that do say, oh, it's not for me, they said, but the couple were lovely.
to throw that curveball in.
Just so you're not totally offended because your house just wasn't what they were looking for, but you guys were smashing.
What do you like? What do you think is like the top reason for people not doing it? Do you think it's just like a priced out, or do you think it's that they don't want to be rude? Because it's like, I suppose there is a pressure from people that have done viewings, because obviously you get in touch with them for feedback, don't you? Or you'll ask them for reasons as to why how interested they are or how interested they're not. Like, what is the top reason that people are just like, no, it wasn't for me? Or do you feel like they're nervous to disclose the real reasons?
Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're brutally honest.
Yeah.
And then we need to translate that into something that we can tell our vendor without like tipping them over the edge.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are, I didn't like the street, or such and such a room was too small.
I just didn't get the feeling.
I just didn't get the feeling.
And I suppose that's
an easy one to say,
that's an
isn't
easy
it?
one to come out of. But you also have that sort of, what is it? You get one impression or one chance to make a first impression. They reckon people decide within 30 seconds of arriving at a house whether it's for them or not. So whether that's the exterior, what they're looking at in the front doorstep, the first entrance hallway.
Starts outside,
so sometimes they then walk around the room and they go, it's a nice room, it's a nice kitchen, nice bathroom, but they just go, I just didn't get the
like
feeling.
the mattress in the neighbour's front garden.
Yeah, I didn't like the colour of the doorbell or something
That'll
like
do
that,
From those of you on the front line, what is the impression that we're getting at viewings? Are buyers jumping into offer? Are people talking about waiting for closing dates? Like, what's the general vibe of how the pace of things is out there just now?
I would say it's a mixture of both, because depending on what level on the market that the property's at, if it's like ones that your first time buyers are going to maybe up to 150,000, they're getting outbid at closing dates, so they then become a bit annoyed that they're not being able to get it. So as much as they know it's probably going to go to a closing date, they're coming straight in with an offer because they know we've got to take it to the client.
Yeah.
But they're making it a good offer, so that we're sort of trying to entice the seller to take their offer, take it off the market, not have any more viewers. So they're basically giving them a sort of closing date offer without the actual scenario, without the competition. So that's happening. But then, yes, there are the patient ones that are waiting until there is a closing date and then, having a stab at it that way. But I would say it's a good mix of both.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And you'll see the same clients when you're talking about the first time buyer market that are, and it's a shame, and that's the not so nice part of it sometimes, but then you've got so many good stories and you do see them come out and everything happens for a reason and they get that right house.
Yeah, and that also gives you a bit of a buzz when you've maybe dealt with a young couple or a young person who's started off and they've viewed maybe half a dozen houses, and that's only with us, so they're viewing others with other agents as well. And then eventually you either speak to them because you've got something coming on that would meet their needs and they tell you they've bought something, or we get something that comes on and that's the one that they're successful in buying. So it's kind of almost like you've helped them right through the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's fair to say that buyers don't like closing dates. There's not many buyers out there that will say, oh yeah, I'll wait for a closing date. There is the odd one, but a closing date's such a lottery, because you can have closing dates with 2 or 3 people, or you can have 10 or 11 people at the closing date. But buyers don't like them because there's that risk that they're not going to get it. So what Fiona's saying is right. I think you're seeing a lot more people trying to force the hand of a seller early on, come in with a high offer to try and prevent the closing date. But as agents, we're always going to be saying to the seller, like, if they're doing that, the chances are someone else might do that, and you're better to be armed with all the information from all the potential interested parties before you make a commitment on accepting an offer. That said, there's the risk that that person that's forcing the hand is going to say, well, if you don't take my offer, I walk away and I buy something else. So you've then got to play that as, what is the best advice for the client. So I think at this moment in time, we've come through such a strong market that there's been so many buyers have lost out at closing date that's left a sort of bad taste in their mouth. And now they're getting to that desperate stage where we had one just yesterday where we had 2 viewers out day one, both came in with really, really strong offers. Closing date set for next week because we want to hear from everybody. So it's one of those situations where we've got to do right by the seller, but equally that sometimes doing right by the seller is advising them on the strength of a really good early offer.
I think the other thing, we actually touched on this in podcast 1 when we had the guys from Envoy in as well. It's certainly from Fiona and Elle's scenario, they're taking these offers to clients. Now, if that offer is not backed up with any form of credibility, do you have a mortgage sorted? No, not really. No. Well, that's not a great offer for us to take to a client. So certainly the advice would be for buyers is to be in a good position, have your mortgage sorted, or if you've got a property to sell, at very, very least, you should have a valuation carried out on that before you even consider offering on other properties. Because if not, these guys are taking offers to clients, and then the first thing the client's going to say is, have they got a mortgage sorted out, or have they got the house in the market? And if the answer to all these things is no, all of a sudden your offer doesn't carry much credibility, unfortunately.
Do you know what I find fascinating? And I mean this in the nicest way possible. and anyone listening or watching the podcast, take it as I mean it. I find it fascinating that people come to us and say, I'd like to put my house in the market. And the first thing I say, all right, what's the plan? I've had an offer accepted on another property. Not with us. Right. And I'm like, have you had it valued already? No. So I'm thinking, right, wait a minute. You've gone to an estate agent. You've made an offer. They've not valued your house. Your offer's then been accepted. They've still not valued your house. They've no idea whether you've got a sellable house, whether it's in a sellable condition, whether you're realistic in expectation. But their seller has accepted your offer. Who knows whether they're going to be able to sell that house that's conditional upon making that whole thing go through. So I find that fascinating. Like, we would never do that. If someone came to us and said, we want to make an offer and it's subject to the sale of a house, I need to know where the house is, how good it is, how sellable it is, and how realistic they are in expectation on price. Because if it turns out that they've offered 50,000 over home report because they want to secure this property, but it's based on them getting 50,000 more than what they think the house is worth, that could be pie in the sky. Yeah. But there's agents out there, and again, I mean this in the nicest way possible because there's a lot of good agents. There's agents out there that are taking offers from those clients, and I find that fascinating.
Well, yeah, that's something I was going to come on to is the balance of reality versus expectation, which is that thing that you're talking about. Is how do you guys deal with when you're going into a property, the client has got an idea in their head of what they want. For some reason, they've come up with it. Maybe they've done their own online research or whatever.
Everyone's an estate agent now. Rightmove tells everyone's an estate agent.
That's it. So how do you manage it when there is a big disparity between what you know as the experts it's realistically likely to get?
I think when we go to these appointments, we'll always be armed with information to back it up.
Evidence, isn't it? It's evidence.
The evidence is there. You've maybe printed off, what we would describe as a best price guide, which showcases similar sales that have happened in the area. You use that as a guide to say to folk, look, these are similar properties to yours. That sold for X, that sold for Y, so you can expect yours to value that. Now, as an agent, we'll then always still try and drive your price up as much as we can, but let's work off what the starting point is, what is likely to be your value. And from time to time, and I was at one the other week, and you'll get it both ways. You'll get, oh no, my house is worth a lot more than that. And that's where your stats and your knowledge and your evidence and etc., all that rolled in together, probably puts the person's mind at ease that, they're maybe being a bit ambitious. That was one the other week where it was completely the other way around. The guy was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was along the lines of, he thought his house was worth round about 210,000 and it was worth 270 all day long. And in actual fact, I think it maybe sold for 295 or something in the end. Mm-hmm. So there's £85,000 of a difference. Yeah. But then again, he wasn't a Rightmove watcher. He wasn't an estate agent expert in his own right. He just hadn't paid any interest to it. Yeah. Didn't bother him. So you'll get it both ways. Yeah,
and I think there's two ways of winning a listing as an estate agent: overvaluing and undercutting. So if an agent goes out and promises the client...
Here at Lomond, we do both.
Absolutely not. But, you overvalue the property based on no evidence.
Just to get them to go,
it happens a lot where clients will say to us, I had such and such agent out and they told me I would get 300,000, and we're saying, well, there's the comparable sales. That one was that size, that one got that price. That's why we're valuing it at this. What evidence did they show you? And quite often they say... None. No evidence. They've just made the number up in their head, and it's to try and get their business. And then they undercut on fee. So they say, oh, we'll do it for 2 balloons and a goldfish. Lomond will be this price and that price. But there's a reason why agents charge what they charge, because of the evidence, the advice, the information that we can provide, the marketing and everything else that goes with it. So there's a balance there as well. This whole job, this whole industry is balancing, and we have to give the right advice to the client. We have to make sure the property's positioned correctly. I would say 99% we get it spot on. There is always that 1% that we might not quite get it right. It might not be us, it might just be the market hasn't responded. But generally speaking, because of the lengths we go to that Joe mentioned there on comparable sales, we get it pretty close.
We obviously cover all different property types. We're all into the spectrum. So there will be that 1% of properties that you'll get now and again where it is just like, this is a real one-off, and then you have to use your own expertise to figure out where do you market it. I had a stat recently that over 50% of our buyers in Ayrshire don't come from Ayrshire. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So what do you think the reason is for that? What's driving people from outside of our fair county to live here?
It's going back to when we were in lockdown, and then people have started working from home. So they maybe worked in Glasgow city centre. They now only need to get into the office once or twice a week. They've moved down towards the coast where there's more green belt here.
They live longer.
They live longer because of the fresh air. And they're getting more house for their money down here than what they were. And, they're getting a garden, they're getting, close to the sea, close to the parks.
I think the other thing is Ayrshire's got lots to offer. And
Couple of good football teams.
yeah, Fiona's right. I think as well, we spoke about this not so long ago. We were talking about the working from home aspect, and that, people only maybe having to be in the office in the city maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week. They can then, they can live further out of the city where it's more expensive to buy a property. But also, we talked about this before, where people having a home office has become quite popular. A lot of houses now, their fourth bedroom is a designated office with office furniture. And that never used to be the case. Like 20, 25 years ago, if you had a home office, you were really posh.
Yeah.
Like, if you had a home office in your house, you were posh. Nowadays, everyone's got an office because so many people are working from home.
That's become a selling point.
Yeah.
You go into a house and go, oh, right, that's a great space. You've utilised that as an office. Great selling point, because that's what folk are looking for now.
How many times do people say, I'm going to take that out and put a bed in there to show it as a bedroom because they think
And the answer-
value is in bedrooms?
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, actually, no, don't do that
The
because
answer
you've
used
got
to
the
be
4
yes.
bedrooms. Yeah.
Now it's no, leave it.
Yeah.
That's your selling point.
Yeah.
And commuting from Ayrshire to Glasgow has never been easier either, has it? Obviously all of the main towns are on the train line more or less, and then Kilmarnock, obviously you're up to Glasgow in just over half an hour. And even if you're driving, I'm obviously just moving up to the north of Kilmarnock into South Craigs, and you're literally like 20 minutes on the motorway and you're in town. So like it's even though you're moving out of Glasgow, like there'll be places you could live in Glasgow, it would take you just as long, if not longer, to commute into town
the
for work.
centre, absolutely.
Yeah. It was Rightmove that came up with, that gave us that stat that 50% of buyers don't originate in the postcode. And again, that's one of the reasons why our marketing's changed so dramatically over the last 2 to 3 years, because we need to educate these buyers that aren't from Kilwinning, or that are moving from Glenrothes to Kilwinning or from Newton Mearns to Prestwick. Why buy in Prestwick? Because if they're looking in Prestwick, they might also be looking in Doonfoot, they might also be looking in Largs, so we need to educate them on why we want them to buy one of our houses, in an area we operate in. And that's where the video marketing comes in really, really well, educating people on the local facilities, amenities, talk about the train line, and I think that's working really well. And also the other stat, we talked about this as well, 80% of people browsing online don't read the marketing description. So again, the websites can tell by how long someone's on a website for. So if someone's scrolling or browsing through Rightmove or Zoopla, if they click off that page quickly, Rightmove deem them not to have read the description. So that means they're looking at the photos, the video, the floor plan. So we need to get in within all that they're looking at, reasons to buy the house. And that's not by writing a flowery description. That's about educating them on screen. Do you know about the tennis club? Do you know about the golf courses? Do you know about, local performing arts schools? Do you know about other facilities for kids, other facilities for pensioners? There's loads going on in Ayrshire for all different age groups.
Was it not proven as well, though, if you've got a video, more people are likely to watch the video and then contact the agent than they are to click through the photos and read the description?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Someone messaged me the other day saying, why am I being offered? Why is Instagram showing me videos of properties for sale in Kilmarnock? And I messaged back saying, well, that shows the algorithm is working.
Yeah.
So these are people that maybe don't follow us on social media, but they're being presented with these videos, and those are accidental buyers. And we get it all the time. In fact, I had one recently where the person ended up buying the house. They weren't looking, they weren't browsing Rightmove all the time. They just saw one of our videos and went, oh, we didn't realise that house was for sale. Went online, looked at it, booked the viewing, made the offer, had it accepted, and then they're on the market with us themselves.
So we had that stat. Now, you might correct me, I think I'm right in saying the exact numbers were something like 3.7 million views of our Facebook site or social media. Now, first and foremost, to me, for a small business in Ayrshire, that's mind-boggling. That's half the population of Scotland. So look at that. But the interesting thing with that is, and probably where our marketing is differential to other agents as such, 3.1 million of that 3.7 were non-followers. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, as I quite often say to folk, your follower is probably somebody who's already bought or sold a house through us.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily our captive market. It's Jim from Paisley who's maybe thinking about a move down to Ayrshire.
They're not your active buyers.
And it can move very quickly. Like you say, it can be. What was it, an accidental buyer? Is that what you called them? Like these people who they didn't know that they needed this house, and then suddenly they'll see one, and then they start picturing the rest of their life, and then before you know it, they buy 6 months later they're in their new house.
Story-driven marketing, that's one of our core values, and that's trying to sell the lifestyle to a client. You know, sell them the lifestyle, make them picture themselves in that house. And I think if agents aren't doing that in this day and age, they are missing a trick, and they're failing their seller. You know, they're failing their seller because gone are the days where you can just take photos, put it on the portals and expect the phone to ring. Yeah, it will ring and you'll get viewings and you'll probably sell the house, but you're not going to get 40 grand over home report value. You're not going to maximise the potential of that. And that's what we're all about.
Do the job for you.
Yeah.
Good. In Scotland, obviously, we're using the offers over system. Do you feel like that system works just now? Obviously, you could also, you know, is there a move back to doing more kind of fixed price properties? What are kind of the benefits of them?
I think we're still very much in an offers over market. There's the odd person, if they're maybe in a hurry to sell, might opt for a fixed price because it's putting it out there, this is what I need to get. If you're not going to pay me that, you know, I'm not going to accept anything. But there's still enough interest, I think, in properties where we are still seeing closing dates. We are still, you know, getting maybe like 4, 5, 6 offers, sometimes more. So you're still, if you set a fixed price, you can't do that. You know, it's first come, first served.
Yeah.
So there's still definitely, I think, the demand that you're going to get closing dates and.
Yeah, I think in a strong sales market, offers over will always work. And it's, Joe and I were speaking about this morning, it's about positioning the property at a price that makes people sit up and go, wow, that looks like great value. You know, you used a great phrase earlier on, and it's Domino's Pizza. Any pizza, any size, $9.99. But when you want it delivered, you want the stuffed crust and you want the pepperoni passion or you want whatever, it's $14.99 or it's 25 quid, but you're lured in by $9.99.
Every Saturday night with that £10 and the guy just goes, nope.
You need to come and collect it.
Need more.
You need more.
But any marketing's like that if you think about it. I said this to a client the other day. Can you tell me any advert that has ever been put out there that is not designed to make you engage?
Of course it is, yeah.
Ryanair tell you their flights are X amount. DFS will tell you they've got another sale on, you know, Domino's Pizza, etc. It's always designed to make you go and look, and it's the same when you're putting an asking price on a house. Yeah. You know, vendors probably get that wrong the most. They don't see it. They tend to see it more as, well, that'll push the price up if I push the asking price up. It's not that way. It's designed to make people come and look at your house.
That's something that I've noticed when I've been out. You know, obviously a lot of the times we're in the houses at the same times, and I'll, you know, usually be having conversations with the clients, and I'll hear them. You know, I'll hear you maybe discuss what they think that the offers over should be, and they'll maybe think in their head that they want £300,000 for the house, and if you tell them, right, we're going to go in at offers over 275 or 280, their initial reaction is maybe sometimes, oh, so is that all you're thinking we're going to get for it? And you'll explain to them, no, it's all about driving in as many eyes as possible and trying to. You know,
the seller sets the price, we advise them. So if the seller says to us, my home report's 300, I want to put it on at offers over 300, we'll advise them on why we don't think that's the best way to go. It depends on the market, it depends where the house is, it depends what the market perception is in that area. But what we have to be really careful of, and again, we had this situation just the other day. A client had an offer accepted, had offered 15% over asking price, wanted to put their house on the market, £5,000 below home report, which and I said to them, I said, okay, so if you're on at that price, add 15%, that's the price people are going to think you're going to need or going to want. They're not going to view. It's going to push it way beyond. So you need to pitch it below that when people then factor in the 15% premium, they go, all right, that's actually quite affordable. Then you get multiple interest, multiple buyers, closing date scenario, and it might end up getting way over that. But the price has to reflect the market, and we're not trying to mislead anyone. All we're doing is putting it on at a price that reflects what the buyer perception is. Now, if a buyer's coming from Glasgow, 20% over asking is completely normal. So if they're looking at an offers over 250, they're going, that's 300 grand. Now, we know down here, offers over 250 maybe means 280, might mean 285. In a real good scenario, it could be over 300. But generally, it's in that region. So if a buyer's looking at that and saying, so if we've got a 280 home report and we go offers over 270, the Glasgow buyer's going, right, what's 20% of 270? My maths is rubbish, 50 grand, give or take. So it's 320. So they go, nah, I'm not bothered viewing. And you lose the momentum, you lose the interest that drives the activity to get you to the closing date.
Sure.
Pricing is so important.
To find that sweet spot.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes as well, it's natural for a vendor to feel that way because it's not what they're doing day in, day out. Trust the process, trust the fact that we know what we're doing. We sell an awful lot of houses. But also just look at it and think, well, these guys want the same result as I do. As a vendor, would the estate agent recommend that because he wants to get a really low price from a house or because he wants to get a really good price from a house?
Of course, yeah, that's a good point.
Sometimes when you take a step back and think about it that way, you think, well, of course he's recommending that because they want the same as me, which is my house to sell and a great price.
Of course, yeah.
So,
there is a bit of a sort of leap of faith, and quite often we have, and do you know what, when we get that message back after the client goes away and thinks about it and they say, do you know what, I'm with you, I trust you on this, that's a great shot in the arm to us to say, do you know what, that conversation was worth it, because we can speak to clients for 15 minutes on the asking price. Now it's really easy for me as an estate agent just to be led by the seller, and the seller says, right, my home report's 200, I want to go on, it offers over 195, and us just go, okay, that's easy. It's not right though. We need to actually take the time and say, I hear you, I understand what you're wanting to do. Here's why I suggest you do it differently. If they then come back and say, thanks for the advice, I want to go on, it offers over 195. Okay, fine. It's your call, it's your house. I can only advise you, I can't tell you what to do. But invariably, those situations are the ones that then we have to have the conversation 2 weeks down the line to say, this is why you've only had 4 viewings. This is why you've not got a closing date, because really the price is wrong because people are adding that 15% premium and they're thinking 230, when in actual fact, you've told us you'll take 210. So you need to be on at 185 or 180.
But then the best bit is, see, once you get the price agreed, the one we've recommended, you pass it to Fiona and Elle, and it's their problem. We don't have to worry about it. I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
Which thankfully,
standard.
Matthew, we are the experts. So,
We're just the face.
We're used to it. Do you know what I mean? We are the ones that do all the hard work.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
The guys at the coal face, that's us.
So what is that secret sauce? What's that one thing that you can do for under £500 that can increase the value of your property by, say, £5,000?
Declutter.
Declutter.
That's free.
It's a great one.
That's free.
It's free.
Yeah.
Right. Next.
Yeah. Just make sure it's clean and tidy.
Right.
Like a wee
Still
candle.
free. Perfect.
I get that.
This kitty's
Those are
looking
3
good for
things
the
that we say all the time, though.
Yeah.
Clean and tidy and declutter. That's like half the battle.
There probably isn't a direct number as such, but I certainly find myself, and I think it's the second last page in our brochure as well, is think like a buyer. Stand outside your house with a pen and paper and pretend you're the buyer, not the owner of that house, and write down all the wee things that you walk by every single day of your life that you've never thought of. And it's astonishing some of the things you write down. You're like, oh my God, look at my doormat. That's been there for 9 years. I wipe my feet in that every day for 9
Really should
years.
take that baby back that we borrowed to get that house.
Yeah.
Smallest
My-
defect.
my-
He's
my
nearly
le-
at high school now.
Yeah, my letterbox rusty, and now I think about it, it's actually been rusty for 10 years now. I should maybe get, so and just walk around your house and do all that, and you'll probably have a list of that's going to cost me an awful lot of money, so I possibly won't do that. But these are all very simple things to fix.
And it's not that doing that, like, because that's exactly what we did. We looked at the front of ours, we de-weeded the whole front of the house, we repainted the door that was just a closed door, and that in itself doesn't make our property more valuable, but what it does is create a different impression, and it means that with the more people that are coming to view it, it'll be more welcoming. You're going to drive up the interest, even though it's a curb appeal, isn't
Let's
it?
come back to that 30-second scenario. What's people's first impressions of your house?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I think that too. I think if you're going to spend £500 and want to add value, get the frontage looking spot on. And even if it means you pay a decorator to come and paint the front, it's going to make such a difference. It might not add £5,000 on paper, but it probably will once you've got the added interest, because people are enthused by that 30-second thing. So definitely first impression, work on that first impression. Even you talk about communal buildings, go and tidy your neighbour's garden.
Yeah.
Right?
The
Tidy
clothes,
it, because
everything.
as much as you might sit there and go, that's not my responsibility. That's their garden. It might be a tenant that's in there. It might be someone that is older that doesn't have A, the money to pay someone, or B, the ability to actually physically go and tidy the garden, to weed
needs
it.
the help.
But it'll help your sale. So if you sit back and do that whole, not my problem, not my house, it will impact you negatively. So take the time.
Go the extra mile.
Go the extra mile, tidy the frontage, make sure it looks great. It will definitely work. It'll pay dividends down the line.
We get asked the question all the time, especially if it's maybe like a family sale, an older person's house that they've passed away or whatever, and it's dated. They're like, should I put a new kitchen in? Should I put a new bathroom in? And we're always saying, like, no, because like you could put in a kitchen. I come and view your house and I think that kitchen's terrible. And, 6 weeks after I've moved in, you drive past the old house and I've got a skip in the front garden.
Yeah.
With
And
your new
you've
kitchen
spent
in it.
all that money.
That
Yeah.
happened to me.
Yeah.
That happened to me, and the seller went bonkers. It happened to me about a long time ago down in south of Ayr. They put about a 40. Do you know there's a company called Johnson & Johnson? You ever heard of them in Manchester? Yeah. They put this 40-odd grand kitchen in the house in the south of Ayr because they thought it will sell it. Framed cabinets, aluminium frames with glass. It could have been 20 years ago, so like 40-odd grand for a kitchen was a lot of money, whereas now probably would get you a few units. Literally 2 weeks after completion, skip, kitchen in the front, and I knew the person that sold it, and he went bonkers. I had 40-odd grand kitchen, and I'm like, well, I kind of told you. You don't. There was nothing wrong. The house was probably at that time about 20 years old, so the kitchen was 20 years old, and they thought, I'm going to put this in. And the house did sell, and it went really well. But that exact situation happened to me, and it was a Johnson & Johnson kitchen, and I think they maybe kept the appliances, the built-in coffee machine, and all that, but they hated the glass cabinets. I know if it was me, and when my kids were wee, glass cabinets in my kitchen would be the worst thing I would want.
Yeah.
Don't try and second guess the public.
I wish I knew though, because I'm looking for a new kitchen. I would have took it out the skip.
Coming back to Q1, you guys are on the front line. What are some war stories? What are some big emotional moments or against all odds sales you have had from Q1?
There's probably too many to mention because it has been a busy quarter. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. It's been like we've had houses coming on, then they sell, and it's almost like you're thinking, okay, we're going to run out of houses here. But then the next wee wave comes on and you sell them. And it's like just now, I feel as if throughout Q1 we've had a couple of like chains involved, and some of them have been like across the branches. Like Kilmarnock sold a house for someone, they've bought a house off me. So it's good that we can help people move throughout Ayrshire.
We can control that entire chain.
There's like, you get a young first-time buyer coming in, you find them a house, you find that person a house, and then so on and so forth. So it's quite good to like be in control, I suppose, of the entire chain to like help people move to where they want to get to.
What type of buyer make you the most? Do you feel the most attached to? Do you have like a typical buyer type that you feel like you're more emotionally invested in?
No, I don't think so, because if you think about it, we're selling houses for people for hundreds of different reasons. They've lost a parent, they've lost a family member, they've had a baby, they need, so it's like 1 minute you're like dealing with somebody who's really sad and you're trying to make it as stress-free and easy a process for them as possible.
During a vulnerable sale.
Yeah, and then you've got the next person that you're speaking to has just had a new baby, looking for a bigger house, they're all excited, so it's like everybody's different, but you always get a buzz when you get the right offer for somebody that makes them really happy.
Yeah, it must be hard for you to manage your own emotions in that situation, because you're having to turn it on and turn it off and mix it up constantly on a daily basis, depending on what the situation is.
I'm a Gemini.
You like Gemini, don't you?
Gemini.
Is that a takeaway?
No, it's my go-to when I need to know something.
It's the basis of the script for this podcast.
ChatGPT 2.0.
Yeah.
What's your favourite sale this quarter, El? We talked about it earlier.
Am I allowed to name names?
Yeah, talk about the address.
My favourite sale from Q1 would probably have been South Dean Road. South Dean Road in Kilmarnock, number 25. It was a long sale. It wasn't, when you're mentioning a roller coaster, that's probably exactly how the sellers would
That
describe
was
their sale as well.
one of the best houses I'd been in this quarter.
Yeah.
I think that was
In
my
terms
biggest jaw-dropping moment walking into a
shoot.
house.
Yeah.
When I walked out the back and saw that, I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
really like, I'm
It
blown
was
away.
such a unique property though. Like we to try and get across everything that house offered was so difficult, but also so easy in a way because like the pictures in the video told its own story.
Yeah.
But there
Is
was
that the one with the
things.
secret garden?
Secret
Yes.
garden, yeah, but it only
not
really
a
had
secret anymore.
two bedrooms, two and a half bedrooms, really.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of little, sort of curveballs with that one, but the house was so good. Like they had spent so much money on it. Everything was just almost like almost perfect. Like the house was
Yeah.
almost perfect.
Perfect for someone.
It was
Yeah.
perfect, and it was
It was a
finding the
unique
right
sale.
someone.
Yeah, the
Um,
sellers themselves were fantastic.
They were great,
They originally
yeah.
came on because they had an offer accepted on one of our other properties in Kilmarnock. Unfortunately, that didn't go the same way it should have, but they ended up with a new build. Was it Barrett they ended up in?
Yeah.
Barrett or David Wilson?
It's one
After
of those
achieving
ones
the
that-
best price, and they were
You've just got
fantastic.
to stick with it, and you
Yeah.
did stick with them the whole way, and it was, it was a good one. It was good. It's good to get over the line for them because it's
Yeah.
like you want a house like that to go well, and it's like you want every house to sell well, of course, but I agree.
I think that's Joe said that to one of our vendors the other day. There, it's like even if your house is not selling in the first week, or the first fortnight, it will sell.
Yeah.
Just bear with us. We've just like not got the right, especially if it's a niche property. It's not like the same as every other house.
Yeah.
Then you're going to need to find that niche buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
and
one
they will
definitely
come
was.
along. Yeah. Is there any other ones like that? Ones that you thought were maybe like not ones that got away, because I'm sure we would have ended up getting the sale in the end, but like ones that you thought this is going to be an absolute smash hit, and for one reason or another, it's maybe proved more difficult to move on than you initially thought.
I think sometimes, like, again, if we'd gone back maybe a couple of years, there's houses that you would have put on the market and thought you're going to get 30, 40 viewers, and now you're maybe only getting 10 and 15. But part of that is because prices are going up, so budgets are changing
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're becoming harder to sell, it's just that it's slightly different.
Yeah, I mean, if we were talking about, you mentioned your good sales and that's a scenario. The one we had in Conan Road, I thought was a tremendous example of the right person buying the house at the right time. An offer was accepted. Now, unfortunately, the buyers had a pretty awkward change of circumstances and weren't able to, proceed with the sale. Now, nothing's happened there. It's not like the sale's fallen through as such. It's just they had a situation that meant they had to pull out. So that house then goes back on the market and achieves, I think it was somewhere off the top of my head, maybe £40,000 more than what the original
Yeah, that was
offer
an amazing property.
that they had accepted
It's
was.
funny that happened. That can happen.
Great negotiating. Great
Well,
negotiating.
It absolutely is. Everything happens for a reason, all the cliches you want, but a really, really good example of we stuck with the client. The client could see that, it was an unfortunate circumstance that happened to the potential buyers, and remarket it, do what we do again, rinse and repeat, put it in front of the right people, advertise it the right way, do all the same things, because it technically did work the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The second time round, the property achieves a really strong sale. So
It's
I
funny,
thought that was my kind of stick out one, because the ones that come on, get 25 years, 10 folk want to offer, go to a closing date. Yeah, it's dead rewarding, but it's the ones that you feel
and
just that little bit
sometimes
more.
you get houses coming on the market and you're thinking you're not really sure because it's a bit different from, I'm saying normal, but you know what I mean. It's not like just your detached
Everyday
villa with
standard,
four bedrooms. And we thought this is either going to sell well or we're going to struggle and we're going to have to maybe end up having the awkward conversation like, right, well, we've tried this, we're going to need to try something else. And it was a flat in Rye, and instantly it hit the market. We were overrun with viewers, ended up with a closing date that the owners were absolutely delighted. We sold it for way higher than Home Report. That the chap actually took our call when we were telling him what the offers were at his work, and when we told him the highest offer, which was a considerable bit over the Home Report, he said, okay, if you could just hold on a minute, I need to move away from the customer facing part of my office. and went. I think he went in a cupboard, and then like kind of screamed and shouted. Maybe said a bad word, but
Or two.
because he was so delighted with what had happened.
Yeah.
You know, and it was.
There's nothing better than that feeling.
Do you ever get any really strange requests when you're at viewings, or from people looking to buy? What's the weirdest thing? What's some weird stuff that people ask you? Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Can you stand at that hob there to see the height for it for me? Pretend you're
Just
washing the
thinking of
dishes.
one Caitlin said in her intro.
Yeah.
Do you come with that?
No one's ever said that to me.
Yeah, I remember you saying that at the time.
God, you put us in the spot there.
I know.
I think that I've had people like sort of looking at like in bathrooms and thinking, I don't know if I would fit in that bath.
If you would fit in it.
No, if they would fit in it.
I don't know if you
I
would.
knew you were going to say
Get
that.
in and show us.
I've made
A
them get
demonstration.
in and see, and then pretended I was going to lock them in the bathroom.
I mean, to me, it's maybe not that strange, but I do still find it funny. Probably two things I find funny is when somebody lies down on the ground to try and replicate how far the bed would stick out. That's amusing. But the one I'll never get is when somebody arrives at a viewing and says, do you mind if I take a few pictures? And I'll always say, yeah, crack on. There are 40 professional pictures online. I'm not sure what it is you're taking a picture of, but crack on.
We're going to move on to a quick fire, yes, yay or nay, right?
Okay.
Number 1, grey walls.
No.
No, well, I don't find them offensive.
Do you not?
No, each their own.
What do you have in your house?
Great
Grey
walls.
walls.
No, I've got one blue feature wall, and then I think my other 3 walls
Blue's
are
in?
sort of
Yeah, navy's sage green also.
Yeah,
sham-
oranges.
champagne cream colour.
Okay, that sounds nice.
I think grey's probably still in, but it's probably at the cusp of going out. But I think there's a lot of people in the last 5 years that will have gone
Yeah.
grey, and they'll have gone, that's because that was what everyone was doing. But now it's very much
The glass,
colour.
the silver crushed velvet. I remember having a silver crushed velvet
yeah.
headboard, and I loved it. And now I probably couldn't think of anything worse. But again, that's because I am very much trying to stick to the times, and I'll copy anything I see.
Yeah. What are some what are some off-putting things if you were to walk into a property that you would just think, "Ugh, I can't deal with
Dirty
that?
dishes,
Oh yeah.
leaving your dirty dishes out.
Washing in the washing machine.
Yes. Especially when the pictures are getting taken.
We can deal with that though.
Yeah.
We've got our own house studio. Remember, we can.
Maybe not particularly from ourselves, but from a first-time buyer looking at properties for herself just now, that is one thing I noticed straight away.
What about something within the house itself though? Like obviously things like that can be cleaned up and whatever. What if it's like, is there anything that you would think, oh, I'm gonna hate having to deal with that, or I would need, if I was to buy this house, I'd need to change that straight away? Like anything like that?
Anything that's grey.
No, because if it's just decor, it's easy
Cosmetic.
enough to. If it's easy enough
What
to
about
change.
carpet in the
If
bathroom?
it's something,
Yeah, exactly. What
What about
what's
a royal
personal
blue
thing?
The
carpet
smell,
in the
'cause let's
bathroom?
be honest,
it
the
depends.
owner doesn't know the smell of his own house.
That's true. Yeah.
You know,
Smell blindness.
It's like when people say, "Oh, it really smells a dog," and you think, "I have a dog," and you think, "Oh my God, is that what my house smells like?" So
Or
you've got
you're worried that
got to
they're
bring all
smelling
your
you.
pals round.
Your dog smells
You're
on you.
No, you're like that. No, sorry, that was me. Sorry. You're 5 minutes early.
That's why
Don't
Fiona
kid on,
just
you've never
liked
done
doing
it.
viewings
You're
that much.
taking that too far. Honest hour with Fiona again.
If you won the lottery, would you want to buy a mansion in Ayrshire or a nice wee flat in London?
I've
Neither.
already had this discussion with my other half. I'm not moving out my house. It's my family home. I might put an extension on it, but I'm staying where I am. And then I would just go nice holidays and go part-time at Lomond.
We can't afford for you to go
I've got news for you.
part-time.
There's no part-time slots left.
Oh, shame.
It is crazy.
You'll miss me.
It is crazy though when you think about what the difference of property is like up here compared to like down south. Like what you're getting for your money and what your lifestyle would be. Like it's crazy to think there's probably people that will go their whole lives living in the hustle and bustle of a city that would never know the freedom of living somewhere like here.
600,000-700,000 here in the country would get you acres, outbuildings,
Yeah.
probably a really, really nice house, and 600,000 or 700,000 in the centre of London, maybe 2-bed apartment.
Yeah, well, I've got a
Studio.
friend who's, I know that's hard to believe I've got a friend, but I've got a friend who is
Too far, Joe.
contemplating moving back towards the Troon area, having lived down in London for quite some time. He's had his 2-bedroomed, very, very small, his words not mine, mid-terrace house valued at 750,000. I think it's near Wimbledon, so for obvious reasons it carries a value. And his conversation is, what am I getting for 750 grand in Troon these days?
How many do you want?
Well,
Yeah. But, you know, even though Troon prices are high, you're still going to get a pretty good house. So, yeah. So my answer, if you're asking me, is I'd stay in Ayrshire. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're only saying that because of the golf courses.
one of the many
That's a fair
reasons.
point.
And the Wimpy Burgers.
That's a great selling point.
Listen, I think Jack Nicklaus said the finest golf courses in the world are along the Ayrshire coast. There you go.
there you
He's a good actor.
Turnberry, right up. Jack Nicholas. Did I say Jack Nicholas or Jack Nicholson?
No.
What do you think is the biggest myth that people think about estate agents? What do you think the public are really comparing us to?
I think they think we're dishonest.
Why is that?
Because I think
And tell the truth.
I think they think that you make an offer and so does Craig, and I tell you what Craig's offered so that you can, where we don't do that.
No.
Because it's not worth it.
And there's
It's
so many
unethical
people
and
that
it's not,
don't know we don't do that either.
Yeah.
For example, so like I say, first time buyer, I'm looking for my own property just now, as are a few of my friends, and when I'm telling them details through the process which they would never have known unless they had someone in the industry that they know, they'd go, oh wait, so if I'm giving an offer at a closing date, it's a blind bid essentially. They don't know, other people don't know what I'm offering. I said, no, other people don't know what you're offering, and that's very, very common. I think we get that conversation a lot with first time buyers.
Yeah, and there's so much has gone on in the past. I think estate agents of yesteryear, these sorts of things probably did happen. You know, I'm not saying they don't happen now, but there probably was agents back, in years gone by when there was no electronic footprint everywhere. Everything we do is recorded. We're so heavily governed now by rules and regs and consumer protection and everything that goes with that there's certain things we have to do and there's certain things we just cannot do. But years gone by, those rules and regs weren't really in place, and they were very difficult to sort of prove. And even text messages and phone calls now, you can track everything. So we get it all the time where people will contact us and say, oh, you're working in the agency, you tell me what do I need to offer, and it's like, I don't know, I can't tell you that. You've just got to put your best foot forward, and that's probably why we do have people compare us to traffic wardens, which really drives me bonkers.
You just use the same. So at the other side of a transaction, and it's a phrase, and it's something I discuss a lot at valuations, where you're saying, why do people not like estate agents? And I use that phrase as well, we're like traffic wardens, nobody likes us. But I quite often refer to an experience I had pre-estate agent days, which was my wife and I selling our first flat. We were young, didn't really know what we were doing, let's be honest. Estate agent came out. He was kind of a friend of a friend, so it was that whole kind of, I trust him. And thinking back, now knowing what I know, the experience I had in terms of selling that flat was great. Come on the market, loads of viewers, got a great price. But the end part was a disappointing part. The invoice was nothing like what I was told. So then, the contract had all the small prints, I was young, signed anything, had no idea what I was signing, let's be honest. And I quite often will say this to folk watching this who've maybe had me in their house value, and they'll say, oh, he said that at the valuation 27 years ago, and I'm still in a huff. But it's because I thought, well, that's wrong. That's not the fee you told me it was going to be. It's littered with small prints. And I just thought, how can you build a business around
Being duplicitous.
effectively at the end of it going, that was a really good experience because I got a great price for my flat. But in actual fact, it was all
Smoke and mirrors.
changed at the end because the fee structure was nothing like what you told me in the house. So
And that's
I think
transparency, isn't it?
So if I hadn't gone on to be an estate agent, that would be my reason for not liking estate agents.
But, and I think
But that's
also
why we don't do that. That's why we have everything's fixed.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is that when buyers are trying to buy properties and they've missed out on 3 or 4, it's always our fault. It's always because of something we've done. We've manipulated it to suit somebody, which is so far from the truth. Like if nothing else, we are completely fair for all buyers. We allow, and that's why closing dates are a thing, because we can't do what Fiona said there. All right, Joe, what do you want to offer? Right, okay, Elle, what do you want to offer? Oh, well, Joe's offered more than that. Fiona, what are you offering? All right, well, Elle's offered more than that, and Joe's... We just can't do that. It's like, do you know what, guys? You all want to buy the house.
Yeah.
12 o'clock tomorrow, give us your best and final, and the client will make a decision on who they want to go with. And it might not be the top offer. It might be because Elle's in a really good position, first-time buyer, finance in place. So we've got... Sometimes sellers decide to take an offer that is more suitable to them, and it's nothing personal. It's nothing personal.
And I know I've had a number of people saying to me, oh, I'm not going into a bidding war, when the minute you mention a closing date, and I'm like, but that's not what that is. it's like what Craig says, 12 o'clock, everybody puts in their best offer. We take them to the client decides which one's the best one for them to move forward. So you're not bidding, you're getting a shot.
Yeah.
You know,
You
and
either
that's
bid or
it.
you don't, you know.
If you,
You're
but if
either
you
there or
don't
you're
bid, you're never going to buy it.
Yeah.
Yep, you're walking away.
And if it goes for more than what you can afford, then you weren't meant to get it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what else as well? Like, you know, we're duty bound to bring every offer to the client. Duty bound to bring any offer. So if someone comes and says it's offers over 65,000, I'm offering 20,000, we have to take that to the client. Now, that can reflect badly on us as well, you know. But so because there's rules and regs that we have to follow, some buyers and sellers will form an opinion of us based on us just simply following the rules.
Right, so it's obviously been a hugely successful first quarter for us. Let's cast the net forward to quarter two. What is our predictions for how that's going to go? Are we going to smash it out of the park even more than we did in quarter one? How are things looking at the moment?
Well, obviously.
More of the same. More of the same.
I think everything points towards it being the same. Yeah. You know, it feels okay. We started quarter two with 2 weeks of Easter holiday, which can kind of go one way or another, but
It kind of
Diary's
feels as
full,
if the market's
everything's full.
almost going back to like having the normal trends that it used to have, you
A
know,
little
where
bit more steady.
kids go on holiday, parents stop going and looking at houses because they don't want to take all the kids. They've maybe farmed their babies out to somebody else who's looking for a house.
Or they're away.
Or they're away. And then
that can only be a positive for buyers and sellers, though. 'cause
I know.
Yeah,
and like you
the
can
steady
see,
market.
you can
suits-
see it's like spring has sprung, believe it or not, as the hailstones batter down. That the number of houses that we've got coming on at the market, you can see it getting busier.
Yeah.
So long as that continues, and hopefully it does, don't see why it wouldn't. Then it
Even
should
better
all
was
go
the
well.
answer.
I think quarter two is a busy quarter. Usually, you know, you tend to see as you go into, you know, sort of April, May, June. These are big months in the estate agency world. You know, that's the springtime. As Fiona says, you know, the flowers are out. Everyone's garden looks
clocks
great.
go forward. You can
Clocks
do
go forward.
early evening now, and it's bright.
And I think, you know, one of the things that I would say we've not really touched on it here is the debate of, you know, do I sell first, do I buy first? And there's still sellers out there and in that position where they need to sell to buy, but they're not on the market. They're not going to be taken as seriously as a buyer as someone who's further on than that, i.e. on the market or has an offer.
Yep. They also don't know how much money they've got.
Yeah.
It's a complete
Yeah.
guess at that point. They're completely guessing.
And
how
I think
much
as
money they've
we
got.
go into further into April and May and June, this is the time to do that. So if you're sitting on the fence thinking, I want to move, but I don't want to put my house in the market first, that's what you've got to do. If you want to be taken serious, and don't worry about entry dates. Don't worry about, I've agreed an offer, I need to move out in 6 weeks. That
Well, if my
never
house sells
happens.
straight away, that's you know,
Exactly.
I've got nowhere
you
to
can have a
go.
6 month entry date, an 8 month entry date. As long as your buyer knows and they're happy to go with that, that's
we'll
absolutely
manage
fine.
that for you.
We'll manage
We'll
it.
help you out on that side of things as well.
So always get your property on the market as soon as you can.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Put your best foot forward.
Yeah. Let's say that there's people out there, this will be the final question for you. So yeah, people that are sitting on the fence, they're not sure about what to do, what order to do things in, the sell first, buy first, like where do we start? What's your piece of advice for these people that are a wee bit unsure?
Organise your valuation.
Organise your valuation.
100%.
Speak to your broker or speak to a broker, if not Envoy Financial.
Get yourself ready to
Yeah.
put yourself in the strongest position.
Just do it. That's it. Just do it. Nike.
Sponsored by Nike.
This podcast
We
is
wish.
sponsored by Nike. Just do it.
So that's Nike, Spud Buds.
Tempura to go.
To sponsor us?
Wimpy
Cafe
Burger.
Yeah. Domino's Pizza, Ryanair,
Yeah.
DFS.
Yeah. Hashtag.
Well, listen,
Remix with the best.
that's all really great information. Thank you so much for all of your time today. Really appreciate it, Fiona.
Thank you for hosting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pleasure.
As always.
Thanks for
The most
having us.
is.
Yes,
Thanks.
no, the pleasure's been all
Friend.
mine.
Thanks for trimming your beard for the cameras. Because you're always behind the camera.
I'm always behind the
You're
camera.
never in front of the camera.
Not always, maybe
Not
more.
always,
So
More
so
coming soon.
More coming soon, yeah. Obviously, it's been a great quarter one. We're looking forward to striving forward into quarter two with even more exciting
Yeah.
things. So, yeah, stay tuned and there'll be lots more content coming your way.
Great. Thanks very much.
Great.
Well
Thank
done,
you.
Matt.
Did it.